The sun, a fiery eye in the Caribbean sky, beat down on Port Royal, its heat shimmering off the cobblestones. The air, thick with the scent of salt, rum, and unwashed bodies, hummed with the ceaseless cacophony of a bustling pirate haven. Alana, Captain Blackheart Thorne's daughter, moved through the throng with an easy confidence, her gait echoing the sway of a ship on an open sea. Unlike the other women of Port Royal, swathed in lace and silks, Alana favoured practical breeches and a linen shirt, her auburn hair tamed by a simple leather tie. Her emerald eyes, sharp and intelligent, missed nothing. She was on an errand for her father, procuring a specific brand of gunpowder, but her attention was snagged by the raucous cries emanating from the slave market. A morbid curiosity, a trait she shared with many in this lawless port, pulled her towards the commotion. There, on a makeshift stage, stood a man. He was unlike any she had seen. His skin, the color of rich mahogany, glistened with sweat, and his dark, piercing eyes, filled not with despair, but with an untamed defiance, met hers across the crowded square. He was bound, his wrists chafed and bleeding, but his posture was that of a warrior, not a captive. The auctioneer, a fat, jovial man with a perpetually red face, barked his spiel. "Look at him, strong as an ox, though a bit spirited, a native fresh from the jungles. Stubborn, yes, but a prime specimen for labor or anything else you might desire." A cruel laugh rippled through the crowd. Alana felt a pang, not of pity, but of something akin to recognition. She understood that wildness, that refusal to bend. She had seen it in her own reflection often enough. The bids started low, hesitant, as if acknowledging the danger in the man's gaze. But Alana, against her better judgment, found herself drawn in. 20 gold! She called out, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the murmurs. A few heads turned, recognizing the infamous Blackheart's daughter. The auctioneer grinned, sensing a higher price. 20 gold for the lady. Any more? 25. A gruff sailor, eyeing the man with a leer, shouted back, 50! Alana countered immediately, her chin rising. The crowd gasped. 50 gold for a slave, especially one so clearly rebellious, was exorbitant. The sailor grumbled and fell silent. The auctioneer, delighted, brought down his gavel with a resounding thwack. "Sold to the lady!" Alana approached the stage, a purse of coins jingling at her hip. As she paid, her eyes met the captive's once more. There was no gratitude, no fear, only that unyielding fire. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice softer now. He said nothing, his gaze unwavering. "He doesn't speak our tongue, lass," the auctioneer interjected. "Just grunts and snarls." Alana ignored him. "I bought you," she stated simply. "You belong to me now." A flicker, a shadow of something unreadable crossed his face. She felt a strange pull, a sense of having acquired not property but a challenge. She ordered his chains to be removed, despite the auctioneer's protests. As the heavy iron fell away, the man stretched his limbs, his muscles rippling under his smooth skin. He still didn't speak, but his eyes, now free to roam, surveyed his new owner with an intensity that sent a shiver down Alana's spine. Taking him back to the Sea Serpent, her father's formidable ship, was another ordeal. The crew, a motley collection of cutthroats and rogues, jeered and whistled. "What's this, lass? A new pet?" A burly boatswain sneered. Alana merely glared. "He's to work. Treat him as you would any other." But Kai, as she would later learn was his name, was not any other. He resisted every attempt to assimilate. He refused the rough canvas clothes they offered, preferring the simple loincloth he had arrived in. He ate only what he recognized from the jungle, rejecting the salted pork and hardtack. He would spend hours staring out at the open sea, his back to the crew, as if searching for something far beyond the horizon. Alana, observing him, found herself increasingly fascinated. His silence wasn't ignorance, but a quiet strength. His defiance wasn't rebellion, but an assertion of self. One evening, while the ship lay at anchor in a secluded cove, Alana found him on deck, gazing at the stars. She approached him cautiously. "You miss your home," she ventured. He turned, his eyes reflecting the starlight. For the first time he spoke, his voice a low rumble, surprisingly resonant. "My home is not here." His English was halting, accented, but understandable. Alana felt a thrill. "You can speak." He merely nodded. "I learned to listen, to understand my captors. Why didn't you speak before? What good would it do? To beg, to explain my defiance?" He gestured to the ship around them. "This is not my world." Alana found herself strangely drawn to his honesty. Over the next few weeks, she began to teach him more English, though it felt more like an exchange than a lesson. He would teach her about the constellations as seen from his village, about the language of the jungle and the medicinal properties of plants. She, in turn, told him about navigation, about the thrill of the open sea and the freedom of a pirate's life. They were two untamed spirits, one born of the sea, the other of the land, finding an unexpected common ground. Their bond, however, did not go unnoticed. Captain Thorne, a man whose heart was as hardened as the barnacles on his ship's hull, viewed Kai with suspicion. "He's a savage, Alana, untamed. You're wasting your time." "He's more than you see, Father," Alana retorted, a familiar stubbornness in her voice. "He's a threat," Thorne growled, his eyes narrowed. "Keep him in line, or I'll do it myself." A storm brewed, not just on the horizon, but within the confines of the sea serpent, threatening to capsize the fragile peace Alana had forged. The bond between Alana and Kai deepened with each passing day. She found solace in his quiet strength, and he, perhaps, in her unconventional understanding. During shore leaves, while the crew caroused in taverns, Alana would often take Kai to explore the edges of the islands, seeking out hidden waterfalls or secluded beaches. It was in these moments, away from the watchful eyes of the crew, that their connection truly flourished. He taught her to identify native plants, to track animals, and to move silently through the dense foliage. She, in turn, showed him how to read a compass, how to hoist a sail, and the intricate knots of a mariner. One afternoon, while foraging for fresh fruit, they stumbled upon an abandoned village, overgrown with vines. It was clear it had been violently razed. Kai's usual stoic expression hardened, his jaw clenching. He picked up a small, intricately carved wooden bird, his fingers tracing its familiar lines. A wave of raw grief washed over him. "This was my village," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "The English. They came. They took everything. My family. My people." He couldn't finish the sentence, the pain too great. Alana knelt beside him, her heart aching for him. "I'm so sorry, Kai." He turned to her, his eyes blazing with a mixture of sorrow and burning fury. "They called us savages. They stole our land, our lives. They deserved what came to them." Alana knew the history. She knew of the brutal massacres, the relentless pursuit of territory and resources that had driven many native tribes to retaliate with equal ferocity. She also knew that her own father, Blackheart Thorne, had been involved in many such skirmishes, his reputation built on the blood of both colonial soldiers and native warriors. A chilling thought, a seed of doubt began to sprout in her mind. Could her father have been involved in this? Back on the Sea Serpent, a growing unease permeated the ship. Captain Thorne, usually jovial after a successful raid, was uncharacteristically grim. He spent hours in his cabin, poring over old charts and scowling at the sea. One evening, Alana overheard hushed conversations amongst the crew about a particular tribe, known for its fierce resistance against pirates and colonizers alike, a tribe that had recently escalated its attacks, seeking vengeance for an ancient wrong. They spoke of the Jaguar Tribe, led by a legendary chief, a man whose name struck fear into the hearts of even the most hardened pirates. Then, a sudden, brutal attack. A fleet of native canoes, swift and silent, ambushed the sea serpent during a moonless night. Arrows rained down on the deck, and warriors, painted for battle, swarmed the ship. The fight was ferocious, a desperate struggle for survival. Alana, wielding her cutlass with practiced ease, fought alongside her father and the crew. But as she parried a blow from a particularly imposing warrior, her eyes met Kai's. He was fighting too, but his movements were different, more fluid, more tribal. And he wasn't just defending himself, he was defending her. In the chaos, Alana saw Captain Thorne struggling against a massive, older warrior whose face was etched with ancient scars. Their fight was personal, brutal. Just as the warrior was about to deliver a finishing blow, Kai, with a guttural cry, leaped between them, deflecting the attack. The warrior, momentarily stunned, paused. He looked at Kai, then at Alana, a flicker of recognition, or perhaps confusion in his eyes. "Kai!" the warrior roared, a name spoken with both anger and a strange, deep affection. Kai did not respond, his gaze fixed on the warrior, a silent plea in his eyes. The battle continued, but the intensity had shifted. Eventually, the native warriors, outnumbered, retreated back to their canoes, disappearing into the darkness as swiftly as they had arrived. After the battle, the deck was a scene of carnage. Wounded men groaned, and the scent of blood hung heavy in the air. Captain Thorne, bruised but alive, stared at Kai. "What was that, savage? You saved my life." Kai remained silent, his chest heaving. "He called your name, Kai," Alana interjected, her voice trembling. "Who was that man?" Kai finally met her gaze, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow. "He is my father, the chief of the Jaguar Tribe." The revelation hit Alana like a tidal wave. Kai, the man she had bought, the man she was falling in love with, was the son of her father's sworn enemy, the heir to the very tribe seeking vengeance against pirates, against them. The ancient wrong they spoke of, the massacre of his village, the one her father had been involved in, suddenly gained a terrifying personal dimension. The realization that she was falling in love with the son of her father's enemy, and that her father might be responsible for the destruction of Kai's home, was a crushing blow. Captain Thorne's face, usually stern, turned to a mask of fury. "You bought my enemy's son, Alana. You brought him onto my ship." "He was a slave, father. I saw his spirit," Alana cried, her own anger flaring. "His spirit is one of vengeance," Thorne roared, drawing his cutlass. "He's a spy, a traitor." He lunged at Kai, but Alana, without thinking, threw herself between them. "No, father, stop. He saved your life." Thorne hesitated, his blade inches from his daughter's face. The crew watched in stunned silence, a palpable tension in the air. The unspoken truth, the clash of loyalties hung heavy between father, daughter, and the man caught in the middle. The love that had blossomed between Alana and Kai was now a dangerous secret, threatening to tear apart not just their own lives, but the very fabric of the sea serpent and its crew. The days following the ambush were thick with tension. Alana, caught between her father and the man she loved, felt a suffocating weight. Her carefree life had been replaced by a sense of impending doom. Kai, knowing his true identity was revealed, became withdrawn, torn between his tribe and his new bond with Alana. He knew his people would never accept a pirate's daughter, and her father would never truly accept him. One stormy evening, mirroring their internal turmoil, Alana found Kai on the deck. "You have to leave, Kai," she said over the wind. "My father won't let this stand." "And you? Will you let me go?" he asked, his dark eyes filled with a raw pain that mirrored her own. "I don't know what else to do," Alana whispered. "We can't be together with our families at war." "My family seeks justice," Kai replied, his voice firm. "Your family, they brought the injustice." The truth stung, but she couldn't deny it. Their desperate rain-soaked kiss was a silent promise and a silent farewell, a moment suspended between two worlds. The next morning, Captain Thorne summoned Alana. "The Jaguar Tribe is on the warpath," he said grimly. "They want revenge, and they want him. You must choose, Alana, your loyalty to me or to him. If you choose him, you're no longer my daughter." Alana's heart sank. She knew her father's words were not empty threats. When news arrived of a planned assault on Port Royal, Alana knew she had to act. "They're coming for my father," she told Kai, "for vengeance. But what if there's another way? A way to find justice, not just more death?" Together, they devised a risky plan, a meeting between Captain Thorne and Kai's father, the chief. Alana believed that if both men could see past their hatred, they might find a path to peace. Convincing her father was the hardest part, but Alana stood firm. "You always taught me to be brave, father. This is our biggest challenge, and it might be the only way to save us all." Reluctantly, Thorne agreed. The meeting took place on a neutral island. The air was thick with tension as Thorne and a few men faced the chief and his warriors. Kai spoke first, translating the pain of his people and their desire for justice. Alana then stepped forward. "My father has done terrible things," she admitted. "But vengeance will only lead to more suffering. True strength lies in finding a way to coexist." To everyone's surprise, Captain Thorne spoke, admitting to his part in the violence and offering a truce. He didn't ask for forgiveness, but promised to respect the native lands. The chief listened, a mask of ancient wisdom on his face. He saw the love between Alana and Kai, the hope for a future that transcended the past. After a long silence, he spoke. "The pain of our people runs deep, but the spirit of the young, their desire for a new dawn, cannot be ignored." He looked at his son. "You have found a path that bridges two worlds. We will consider this truce, but the trust must be earned." It wasn't a full peace, but it was a beginning, a fragile hope forged by love and conflict. Alana and Kai stood together, a silent testament to the bridge they had built. Their love, born from chaos, had become a beacon for a different future in a world defined by violence. They knew their journey was far from over, but together they were ready to face the turbulent tides ahead, shaping their own destiny in the wild heart of the Caribbean.